Welcome to the March 25th, 2016 edition of Colorado Inside Out Postgame, a special web exclusive production here on Channel 12. Let's get a quick take on a Denver high school student's artwork depicting a police officer in a white hood pointing a gun at an African-American boy, causing quite a stir this week. The art was hanging in the Webb Building and caused concern over its portrayal of police. The student requested that the art be removed after witnessing the reaction. Patty Calhoun from Westward, a lot of issues here. We have obviously a First Amendment issue when it comes to art, but it's in a government building. You have an already tense situation with police throughout the nation, including here in Denver, and a student trying to put out her message. What did you think of both the art piece and how everything came about?
Well, mostly it reminds you that the First Amendment isn't easy, and the classic example of that is when the KKK wanted to march through Skokie, Illinois, where a huge percentage of the population is Jewish, and many of them were survivors of the concentration camps, and they allowed the KKK to march through Skokie. In this case, you'd think it's a public school, children did these pieces of art. They'd already agreed to have the exhibit at the Willington Webb Building, so first of all, you wonder what kind of guidance the teacher gave the student along the way. Could the teacher have helped the student a little more? But once that piece was picked for the show, I don't see how you don't put it up. So there's that issue as a First Amendment issue, but there's a lot of education every step of the way that needs to take place.
Craig Silverman, attorney with Silverman & Olivas, also a KNUS talk show host, one of our two esteemed lawyers here at the table. So on one end you have a First Amendment issue, on the other hand you have a pretty tense community issue in a government building. What did you think?
No, it's a good law school exam. I'll tell you, Westward has done magnificent coverage because you can not only see the drawing, but what it's based on and what else it's based on. And I don't like censorship. And it bothers me that this artist was indoctrinated with false narratives out of Ferguson in Florida, because there are a lot, they should have used that Chicago shooting or even Cleveland. Those are better examples of iffy shootings. But George Zimmerman was getting the crap knocked out of him by Trayvon Martin when he shot Trayvon Martin, and we can debate the lack of wisdom of Zimmerman to approach him in the first place. And Michael Brown was not a gentle giant. He had committed a strong-arm robbery, and the hands up, don't shoot was a false narrative. So why are kids being taught that? That being said, it was difficult because this Wellington Webb Building, the DA's office is there, the city attorney's office, law enforcement officers have to walk by it, but good art can provoke. And I guess in the long run, I wish there wasn't censorship, but there's a lesson there. And my Uncle Mel, and there's a park named after him in Montbello, he won the Denver Public School Art Contest in 1949, and I posted some of those pictures on my Facebook page. Some of them might be a little controversial too.
Penn Tate, attorney with QTAC Rock, also a longtime former state lawmaker. Within the timeline that was supposed to happen, the blizzard kind of threw a couple things off. There was going to be a meeting between the student, who was the artist, the mayor, and the chief of Denver Police. That didn't happen because of the blizzard. They were going to reschedule, and the student did request that the art piece was taken down. It wasn't a decision by the city. But how everything was handled, what do you think?
I'm not pleased with how everything was handled, and I think Patty said it perfectly. The First Amendment isn't easy, but it's one of the cornerstones of our society. I remember years ago when we used to do the MLK parade, the Klan would pull a permit and would protest on the west steps of the Capitol. That's a public building, that's a public space, but they follow the procedure, they got their permit, and they do a counter protest to the MLK parade rally, and they were allowed to do that because that's what we do in America. Similarly, and I think Craig raises a good point about the student and what informed her in terms of doing the art piece. I don't agree with all of Craig's examples, but I think what we've seen over the past few years is there are too many instances of African American men ending up shot or seriously maimed by law enforcement officers for all of them to be innocent and all of them to be accidents. And so this young artist, I think, had a right to depict her understanding of what was occurring in America. I don't think it was fair that this child, I'll define her that way, got pressured to remove the picture. I don't think it was fair that they removed the picture. I do think it was fair for the police union and others to say, we have a problem with the picture. That's their prerogative to say that. And I'd like to see a broader conversation. If the mayor's going to meet with the chief of police and the student, have a meeting with the entire class or the entire school and broaden the conversation and talk about perceptions, because I'll bet that artist isn't the only one that has the perception reflected in the piece of artwork.
John Bowman joins us from 5 Points News. A lot of angles here. First Amendment, you have the city building, you have the reaction from a lot of different folks. What's your take?
Well, again, having the student pressure to take the picture down, I don't think was the right thing, and even threatening her, the artist, with a meeting between the police chief and the mayor. I mean, that's kind of heavy-handed. I understand it's a public building, but we've had all kinds of public art. I mean, I remember in Syracuse, a sculptor came in and he did a nude soccer player, and with genitals showing, and it caused all kinds of concerns. But at the same time, this is art, and we do have freedom of speech. And as Penn said, you know, and with Craig, I can't agree with Zimmerman getting the crap beat out of him. I can't believe we're still going back to that. But at the same time,
who was screaming? He was screaming like a banshee.
We don't know that, Craig. We weren't there. We can't even go with that. But at the same time, we do know that a lady who came to Texas to get her job as a school teacher was arrested and ended up hung the next day in a cell. I mean, there's all kinds of issues that have related to police and interactions with black people in America. And I don't think that the police, I respect their right to go through and say we don't like that, but at the same time, I don't think we have the right for the police chief and the mayor to corner a teenager and tell her that we don't think your artwork is right. Art is art.
That's all the time we have for Colorado Inside Postgame this week. Leave us a comment, tell us what you think. For everyone here at CPT12.org, I'm Dominic Dezzutti. Thanks for watching.